topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good morning, Sal. Good morning. Gosh, that's what happens when you've got 10 shows to do. Good afternoon, South Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Experts show. We bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Ooh, we got a great show for you today. It's our Kay Bender Rimbaum show, the first Thursday of the month. And if you've got a question, this show gets so many calls and so many questions. If you want to text us a question, you can text us at 954-336-3767. If you would like to, on our TV version, we have a great chat line right next to it. You can write your questions in. Or you can just give us a call here, and we'll put you right on. The number here is 561-623-9429. That's 561-623-9429. We're going to be talking about community association law today, and it's a real treat today. A name from the past. Let's welcome attorney Andrew Black. Hi, Andrew.
Hey there, Steve. Great to be here. Excited.
Stop buttering me up.
It's been a minute, so anytime I have the opportunity to spend some time and hopefully answer some important questions, I certainly value that opportunity.
Hey, Andrew, before we get started, I just want everybody to keep in prayer what's going on over in Israel. Just so sad what's happening there. And not to be an old softy or anything, but Bobby Knight passed away yesterday. And I'm a big basketball nut, so that was like, I didn't even know he was sick. But there will be no more chair thrown across the gymnasium anymore.
He was a character for sure. He was one of the legends of the game and certainly a force in college sports.
Yeah, he was a wacko, but no one ever said he wasn't a good coach, though.
Yep. He won, that's for sure. I know Isaiah Thomas was one of his favorite players, and he always speaks very highly of him. So, yeah, it was certainly sad to hear about that news.
Well, let's get started with the show. God, we've got so many questions from viewers here from this past month. And Andrew, first of all, before we get started, we get so many new listeners every week. And we now have shows in cities where you have offices at. We have Pompano, we have West Palm Beach, we have Tampa, we have Orlando, because Kay Bender covers all of Florida. So tell everybody about your background.
Sure. Well, absolutely. Just a bit about our firm. We're a full service community association law firm. So we represent condominiums, homeowner associations, cooperatives, country clubs, office condos, any type of community association. And as I mentioned, we're full service. So any legal matter that could arise, whether it's contract review, whether it's general corporate law, whether it's enforcing what your rules and regulations state, collection of the owner assessments. We really do it all. We have lots of what's called board certified attorneys. I'm a board certified attorney by the Florida Bar. That essentially means we focus on this area. Condo law.
It's a big deal, Andrew. Come on.
Well, we work hard for it. And I think it's a way to show someone who's on a board or a property manager that's thinking about perhaps changing whoever attorney that they use. It's just a way to show them that, look, this is what we do each day. We have experience in this. So perhaps give us a shot, because we're certainly we're certified, and this is what we do. So yeah, I've been with the firm 15 years now. And yeah, I'm, really always get new fact patterns each day. I always joke that, communities are the last sort of reality show that they haven't made yet. Because if you think about it, you're sharing walls, there's neighbors, you have personalities, a lot of my job is certainly,
Yes.
Personality management, sort of the psychology that goes in with living in such close quarters. When you have a board that are volunteers, right? They're owners just like the other unit owners, and you have that sort of relationship that needs to be navigated, and that really boards need to have licensed professionals helping them, whether it's licensed property managers, licensed attorneys, licensed insurance, the list goes on and on. So that's a bit about us and what we do. And again, just certainly happy to join you tonight.
Okay. We've got some people saying that they're calling, but they're not getting an answer. 561-623-9429. Give us a call. We are here. We'll take your calls and we'll get you on the air. I have to say something, and I've shared this with all the attorneys that have been on the show. We get inundated from your show with people who live in an association. And Andrew, people are scared. Especially, I noticed the 55 plus communities. They're losing, insurance is going up. Not the fault of the board, by the way. Everything seems to be going up. And especially the 55 plus live on a fixed income. What do we tell these people?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the most common question we get, because the fact of the matter is that the cost of owning a condominium in South Florida has gone way up, and all of the experts in the field, the prevailing theory is it likely is going to continue to go up. I don't use the word crisis in any sort of light way, but I think if you read any articles at all, the cost of insurance, if we're not already there, we're quickly getting to an insurance crisis where the costs are skyrocketing. I hear from clients each day, the cost of their premium has increased 100% or more. And they're left with a fact pattern where the owners, through their payment of their assessments, have to pay those common expenses. We get a lot, can we just bypass getting insurance? And as the attorney for the association, my answer has to be no. It's our, certainly our legal opinion that insurance is required. And there's somewhat complicated questions whether what's commercially available or not. And if something's truly not commercially available, then the board can only do the best that they can do under the statute. But hopefully our firm is very active with the legislature in trying to assist in hopefully coming up with common sense laws, perhaps some changes to soften some of the really the financial strain that our communities face. And on a larger scale, above my pay grade, certainly, I think the insurance industry as a whole, perhaps working with the state of Florida, can hopefully come up with some common sense ways to reduce those costs, because it's just a huge financial strain right now.
I hear people say, how come the governor is not doing anything to lower the insurance rates? But I don't think a governor can do that, can they?
I wish it was that easy, just by one sort of swift signing. Right. There's lots of stakeholders that are involved in this, and it's going to take a comprehensive approach. If there was an easy answer, it would have already been done by now, right? So
exactly, I agree.
It just takes a lot of people working together. Obviously, hopefully it's not too late for some of the communities out there, but of course, financial planning with the association funds as far in advance as you can do is always a good idea, even if you're not one of these condominium associations that are 3 stories or higher that have these new SERS reserve funding requirements. Even if you're a homeowners association, if you're a condo that's 3 stories or less, certainly squirreling some funds away to have that type of rainy day funds and to build up, if you want to call it a voluntary reserve account in consultation with whatever financial professional that you all use. I think that's absolutely a prudent idea. It's never too late to start saving, and that's, I think, a very key point.
Well, we got a board full of callers. Let's go to our first caller. Hello, caller. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Okay, awesome. I'd rather not disclose my name or information, but I'm just over. I had a question about, and I want to commend you on that first preliminary conversation. You're just both of you just so on point with everything that's going on in the community with these insurances and assessments and all of this good stuff. But if more people would just listen to your show or just seek legal advice.
We love you.
Yeah, for sure. But my question and concern is the Florida statute in regards to emails. Now I'm at 718.504. I have a situation. Can board members or request emails for the whole community?
Okay, sure. Yes, this is
could they have an email list? Like, can I divulge that? Because the first line states that social security numbers, driver's license, emails, addresses, they're excluded.
Right.
From that record request.
Yeah, no, this is a fairly common question we get. Obviously, I don't know anyone who doesn't have some email, So the statute is a little bit drafted in what I call in an inartful way. It's a little clunky. Our view on emails is if an association has the signed consent from an owner, that the association can use that owner's email address as the official way to send them official association the annual meeting package, the notice of another owner's, if it's the notice, if they agree to receive notice via email, that email that the association has is part of the official records open for inspection. However, if the association does not have the signed consent from the owner for the association to use that owner's email as the official way to send association stuff to that owner, that email is excluded. So it would really depend on whether your association has the signed consents from the owners or not.
Okay. Yeah, some people have it signed, some people don't.
Right. So therefore, it sounds like your community would have one batch of emails that are open to inspection, and they would have another batch of owner emails that should be kept private and not shared pursuant to an owner inspection.
Basically, I'm gonna have to go through all the ones who have signed and who have not signed. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for calling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Let's go to Jack in Boca. He wants to know if you're a board member, can you also serve on a committee?
That's a great question by Jack. And the answer that sometimes attorneys lean on too much, but it's true in this case, which is the answer is it depends on what type of committee it is. The only type of committee by statute, and I'm talking about Chapter 718 of the Florida statutes for condominiums, Chapter 720 for homeowner associations, and of course for cooperatives, it's Chapter 719. But the only committee by statute that board members cannot serve on is that fining committees. Some communities call it a grievance committee, where if an owner violates the rules and the board approves levying a fine, there's a required 14-day notice that must be sent to that owner of his or her opportunity to appear before a hearing in front of this fining or grievance committee. Those members on that fining/grievance committee must be independent. They must not be on the board. For all other committees, unless the governing documents for that community, which are always unique, so they would need to be reviewed. But unless those governing documents prohibit board members from serving, there is no restriction under state law, and board members can serve on all other committees.
Okay. Let's go back to our chat line. Again, you can actually write your questions into us here on the chat line. This is an interesting question. We might have to decipher a little bit between it. This is Cheryl in Delray. She said, a beehive took up shop on our townhome building along the third floor roof. Neighboring condo is complaining because the bees are swarming past them. Board chose to have the hives removed, but the property manager asserts we were wrong in covering this. They want to know isn't this considered a roof problem?
Yeah, it's sort of a fairly unique fact pattern, and I'm certainly not a specialist in the damage that bees can do, but I would be curious the reason that the property manager said that they should not have addressed it. Usually, if it's on the exterior of a condominium, and I believe she said they're a townhome. So I don't know if they're a townhome governed under 718 because they're a condo,
right,
or they're a townhome governed under 720 because they're a homeowner. But so there might be it might be a document specific thing as far as who maintains what. But generally speaking, if there's some problem on the exterior, I don't really think it's outside of reasonableness for the board to want to address that to prevent either further damage to the exterior of their community building or to it sounds like there was a
Sounds
another
like roof eaves,
yeah,
Andrew. Damage was done to the roof eaves by
got
the
it.
bees.
Got it. Yeah. So unless the governing documents for that community specifically assign the maintenance responsibility to the individual unit owner or the individual home owner, it usually would defer back to the association to take care of that type of exterior problem. So again, I would just be curious why the manager was opposed to it, just based on the facts that I'm hearing. It sounds like it was a reasonable step.
We get a lot of letters also about people complaining about communications, about meetings. Here's Sharon in Hollywood. She said, "We would like to know in our HOA, can the board restrict members from attending committee meetings?"
Only if their governing documents have language that says those type of committee meetings can be closed. There's language in the Florida statutes that talk about committee meetings being treated in the same way that meetings of the board are, i.e., they should be noticed and open to owners to attend, especially if they're taking any sort of final action on behalf of the board.
Okay. We're going to take our first break. Andrew, give everybody the number that's good for any of the locations.
Absolutely. Yeah, you could reach any office at 800-974-0680. Again, 800-974-0680. And our website is kbrlegal.com.
Okay, we're going to go to break. We come back. We have more with Andrew Black, K. Bender Rimbaugh.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
We are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're with you every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m., actually 5:50 p.m. We have got a board full of calls. Let's go to Susan in Tampa. Hi, Susan.
Hi. I have a question to try to understand better the fining process. If 718 says that the role of the fining committee is limited to determining whether to confirm or reject the fine, levied by the board. And if the fining committee's role is limited to just determining whether to confirm or reject the fine, then shouldn't the board meet before the fining committee meets so that the board determines what the fine is, and then the fining committee meets with the violator to determine if that's a reasonable fine?
Yeah. So you basically took my job. You expressed exactly the way the process under the statute works. To give you a little more flavor on this, the way that the fining committee hearing, you want to think about it, it's like a mini due process hearing where the owner is the defendant, right? And he or she has the opportunity to show up, to express whatever they want to try to explain what the fact pattern is. And someone from the association, whether it's a board member, someone from management, they're essentially acting as the state prosecuting attorney. And they'll say, here's a photo of John Smith's commercial truck. It was parked for the last 2 weeks. And you're absolutely right. Under the statute, the role of that committee is to either confirm or reject the fine. It's just a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's not the role of the committee to try to negotiate something besides what the board approves. So to get to the heart of your question, the way it should work is, you're right. The board should meet first, approve whatever the fine amount is. And if you're a condo, it can only be up to $100 per violation, up to $1,000 in the aggregate for the same thing. So $100 a day, up to 10 days. So the board should meet first, approve the specific fine amount. Then the 14-day notice is sent to the unit owner saying, Dear John Smith, the board has approved the fine in whatever the amount is for violating Article XYZ regarding commercial trucks. You will have an opportunity to attend the hearing on this date and time. And then at that hearing, the committee just hears what the owner has to say, hears whatever the association representatives, and then they just vote thumbs up or thumbs down.
Thank you. Is there anything in 718 that mentions prohibiting attendance by renters or tenants at a fining committee meeting, particularly if the violator is a renter? Can't the renter then come to the fining committee meeting?
So the statute is silent on that specific point. If push came to shove and this ever got in front of a judge, I think the preferred approach would be to obviously allow the person who is alleged to break the rules. If it's a tenant, that person should have the opportunity to attend that specific hearing that's dealing with what he or she what they allege to have done wrong. So if
thank you, there's of nothing that prohibits their attendance.
No, and in fact, I think the preferred approach is to allow him or her to attend.
Thank you. And my last question is, what recourse do owners have if they feel that the elevator, for instance, is not being properly maintained? And this has been going on for a number of years, and the elevator continues to have periodic delays in its service, and they haven't rectified the problem. What can the owners do about something like that?
Right. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of specific facts that would need to be analyzed here. Generally, sort of taking a 10,000 foot view, if the owners are unhappy with the way the board is operating the community, the easiest way is that's why there's elections each year, right? So you could simply get new candidates in there and elect a new board. That's option one. Option two is if you're unhappy with the way the board is operating things, if a majority of the owners agree, there's a process under the law called the recall process. And there's some procedural steps there, and it can be without cause, but a majority of all of the owners have the ability to vote to recall and basically force the removal of who is serving currently. The third option, if it's really bad and enough owners feel like the actions of the board are so improper that perhaps they're breaching their fiduciary duty to the owners, and that just means that the board members, their role is their primary focus should be the best interest of the entire community, and they're in a role of trust. So every action they take should be with the benefit of the entire community as the primary focus. If enough owners really think there's enough facts to prove that perhaps they're breaching that fiduciary duty, then those owners might want to, consider contacting their own independent attorney to see if there is a valid claim against them or not. Outside of those formal actions, you can always attend meetings of the board, ask questions. You can send certified mail letters asking questions, which forces the association to respond. So there's a few avenues for you there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all this information. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew, couldn't you stick the board members in the elevator also?
Right. There's always some practical answers that, but yeah, it can be frustrating. Look, the board also may be doing everything they can, and the vendor could be the one dragging their feet, and you got to shift vendors. So there's a lot of what I call sort of on the ground facts that need to be, analyzed. And obviously, any board member out there, should be consulting with their own counsel to really dig into whatever fact pattern they have to make sure you're actually getting direct legal advice for whatever particular fact pattern you're facing.
Okay. Juan, let's put Culpeper up if you can. They have a small condo with a shared single source water bill, and their usage has jumped. You can see it right there on the screen now. And they want to know, is there a way they can have a licensed plumber inspect each unit water outlet to see if leaking or needs to be repaired?
Sure. So if you initially get confirmation from a licensed plumber that this jump in the bill is likely due to some leak somewhere, there is language in Chapter 718 of the Florida statutes that provides the association with the right of access to each unit. And it does not necessarily need to be an emergency. Obviously, if there's a burst water pipe or there's a fire or something along those lines, then most people are aware that the association has the right to access each unit's. But the statute also authorizes the association to exercise that unit access right if they have a credible reason that there could be damage to the common elements or to multiple units. So if you have a licensed and qualified plumber, that gives his or her view that this jump is likely due to some leak somewhere, then I do think it would be reasonable for the board to exercise its access rights to take a further look to identify where that source of that plumbing leak would be.
Okay, let's stay with the chat line. Let's put Andrea's up one. 2 assessments were levied within a month. No audited financials for the past year. Owners are upset about the lack of transparency and do not wish to pay. What is the alternative option?
Okay. So the alternative option is a bit about what I spoke to Susan about. If they don't like the way the board is operating things, they really can think about a new election, get new people in there, perhaps recalling the board. If an assessment was properly adopted by the board, I wouldn't advise not paying it just because you don't agree with it. And the reason I say that is fairly simple, which is the Florida statutes grant very powerful tools to associations to collect assessments that aren't paid on time. And those tools are the lien and foreclosure process, which no one wants to deal with, certainly, and no one wants, to face. So I wouldn't generally recommend not paying. As far as the financial statements, there is language in the statute for both condos and for homeowner associations that there does need to be annual financial statements done, and copies are available to owners at no charge. You're only required to have an audit, because an audit is actually a specific level of financial reporting. You're only required to have an audit is only when your annual revenues exceed a certain dollar amount, or if your governing documents specifically require an audit. If not, there's other levels of financial reporting. There's compiled financial statements. There's reviewed financial statements. There's a simple report of what the cash receipts and expenditures are. And each level depends on, again, what the annual revenues are. But owners certainly have the ability to get a copy of those annual financial reports. But again, not receiving that annual financial report really shouldn't be why you don't pay an otherwise properly adopted assessment.
Okay, let's go to our chat line. Jill and Boynton wants to know, an association receives their milestone inspection report. Is the work required to be completed within 180 days?
Got it. So I'm assuming, of course, she's a condo 3 stories or
Condo, yes,
higher. Yes, there is obviously everyone knows about the new milestone inspection, by December 31st, 2024. There's 2 phases to it. So phase 1 is just an inspection being done. There might not be any work that you have to do. So the 180 days in the statute is just to get phase 1 completed, which is just to have an engineer or an architect come out and see if there's substantial problems there. So it's not that you have to actually get all of the work done within the 180-day time frame. Also, if you're in Broward or Miami-Dade, before this new state milestone inspection requirements were adopted, those counties, Dade and Broward, already had a county ordinance requiring certain building safety inspections being done. And if you're in Broward or Dade and you've already completed your county required safety inspection, that may qualify as your milestone inspection. So you certainly should get confirmation from the local building official on that point. But I've just had this exact fact pattern pop up multiple times. So I just wanted to point that out for those clients in Broward and Dade. If you've already gotten your county safety certification done, you should check with your local building official. That might qualify for your milestone inspection.
Andrew, I'm going to let you explain this because I know you'll be able to explain it really well to people. We get a lot of letters in that people are getting their assessments. I mean, one guy got one for $12 million. How'd you like to wake up to that? And he said they took things that were wrong 10 and 15 years ago. And he's upset why they're adding them now. I know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, look, if
it's got to be fixed, doesn't it?
Right.
No matter how long ago.
If a licensed engineer comes out, evaluates the condition of the property, identifies things, like you said, need to be fixed, the board cannot bury its head in the sand. They just can't. They have to get the work done. That is key to its fiduciary obligation, right? So yes, it certainly, I mean, that large expense should be documented. You should have real invoices showing what the actual or what the cost will be. But if there's an engineer report saying this is what needs to be done, you take the engineer specs, you send them out to bid, and the dollar figure that you get back says it's going to be X, well, the board has to take action. There might be ways to perhaps get a loan or a line of credit, so that's an option to assist. You're still likely going to special assess to help repay back that loan or line of credit. But just because something hasn't been fixed for a long time doesn't mean it just goes away, unfortunately.
I knew you would be able to explain it a lot better than I could. Here's an interesting question. I've never heard this one before. This is from Jack in Sunrise. He said, we are part of the Broward County Condo Association. He's talking about villas on Indian land and the recertification laws subject to new condo laws for single stories. Do they have to go by the same laws, even though they're on an Indian reservation?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a very unique fact pattern. I don't think I've been posed with that exact fact pattern before previously. My comment to that would be to contact the local building official, because they're ultimately the agency that's going to be enforcing any county ordinance or even the state law. And I would get their clarification on that first. And certainly if that community has received notice from the local enforcement agency on that, get with your current council to see if there's any possibility that it wouldn't apply just because you are on, Native American land.
We got a question from Brad in Pompano, which I'm going to have a follow-up for. He wants to know, can anyone run for the board? Do you have to be an owner? Why would somebody want to run for the board if they're not an owner?
Great question. So the first part of that is there's actually a misconception out there, which is the state statutes do not require board members to be owners. However, most governing documents do, but you would need to review your governing documents to confirm that. I can share with you that our firm does have multiple clients where their unique governing documents do not require board members to be owners. The practical question of why would you want to serve on the board, that's a good question. I can share with you one real life fact pattern where there was a long-term, I believe it was a tenant, or it might have even been the daughter of the record owner, who lived in the unit for 30 years. And I can tell you, she was as vested in the condition of the community and how things were ran as much, if not more, than other absentee investor unit owners. So that's one fact pattern where that's someone who's really entrenched there, that's been their home for a long time. And just because they're not on the deed to the home, in that person's mind, they still had a huge heart and they really cared. But I do agree, it's somewhat unusual and it's not common. But if you're on your board and you just assume board members need to be owners and you want to make sure that's the case, definitely get with your association's counsel just to confirm that for you.
You know, it shows how times change, Andrew. We started this show 10 years ago, and I got to tell you, half the show was about pets. I mean, there was so many questions about pets. And here's the show today, not one question about a pet.
We get
Is
still
it the same way at the office?
You know what? It really, I mean, right now, it's sort of annual meeting season. The annual financials are being completed. So there's perhaps more financial matters that people ask about. We definitely still get our fair share of questions about pets, but it goes to show you that just like anything in life, you get perspective on what's important when things happen, right? So when you're talking about insurance increases, when you're talking about, you know, having engineers inspect your property to make sure it's safe, all of a sudden pets kind of go down the ladder of what's really important. So yes, we're getting a little bit less, but we still get our fair share.
Well, I got to tell you, look how fast the show has gone by today. I wish you could have seen all the people who wrote in saying what a great show today was.
Oh,
and that's thanks to you. We hope you'll come back again. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Let's give everybody the phone number one more time. That's good for all the your locations.
Absolutely. It's 800-974-0680. Our website is kbrlegal.com. We've got a great scroll at the bottom. People can see we have a lot of wonderful and free education courses coming up this month. We're jam-packed courses on elections, amendments, the 2024 legal changes, board member certifications, fair housing laws, which deal with pets somewhat and those emotional support animals. So we absolutely encourage everyone, take a look at our site, kbrlegal.com, and we hope to see you at some of our courses soon.
You represent the K. Bender Rimbaum firm very well. Andrew, thank you so much. We hope to see you again. And we'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Thanks again, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.